Real ghost stories, and that's our topic in today's Mandan Current. This weekend, you can go to True Hauntings of Fort Abraham Lincoln, and Matt Shannondor is here to tell us more. Good morning.
Good morning.
It has been quite a run for you guys out there, hasn't it?
It always is. Haunted Fort is always a great season. It's a fun time. It's kind of one of those things people look forward to in the fall, is getting out there, and with haunted houses come scary stories.
Sure.
And we always see the kind of in my news feed on Facebook, what are the top haunted places in North Dakota starts to pop up, and people start to talk about it a little bit.
And the fort is going to be one of the top 5 that's listed.
It usually
isn't
is, yeah. If you Google search top haunted place in North Dakota, you know, the Custer House at Fort Abraham Lincoln is usually number 1 or in that top 1, 2, 3 category.
Okay. I would imagine that you've heard stories or comments, at least from people that work out there or visitors, as far as the haunting of of Fort Abraham Lincoln. What have you heard?
You know, it's interesting of what people hear and see. You know, from visitors coming out to the park versus staff working in the park. Staff working in the park in the buildings constantly all the time, know the different sounds of the buildings, what they make when the wind blows, things like that. And so they're more aware of those types of things. But tourists, you know, when they come out, they would hear things, see things, and a lot of unexplainable stuff. But, you know, that's nothing new. It goes way back into even when the fort was active. When it was an
back
active
in
military.
the 1880s, right?
Soldiers wrote in diaries and recorded things of paranormal things that they couldn't decipher and couldn't really put a finger on what it was, sounds, things like that. And it was you know, when you look back at the history of Fort Abraham Lincoln, it was a rough period of time. It was the Wild West, and so you had a lot of turmoil and angst and anxieties out there, and you know, Custer and his battle and his journey to the Battle of Little Bighorn kind of put a whole legend together for Fort Abraham Lincoln. And when Mrs. Custer passed away in the 1930s, that legend kind of grew into more of a romance, kind of this Hollywood thing, and that morphed over into this whole, well, you know, I think Mrs. Custer's, you know, spirit remains at the park. She's waiting for the general's return back to Fort Abraham Lincoln because of such that, you know, of that turmoil that took place. And so when the house was being rebuilt in the 1980s, you know, stories started to kind of resurface. You know,
people were hearing and seeing things, things that go bump in the night. Right?
Construction workers, people working on the property started hearing things, seeing things. Stories started to emerge of, you know, a figure in black, you know, within the framing of the house as it was going up. So these have just started to kind of morph over time, and now we have kind of a pretty good legend of, you know, is Fort Abraham Lincoln really and truly haunted?
When people come out to go through what the haunted fort now, do they ask questions like, is it really haunted? Do they kind of freak themselves out?
Yeah, they do, and I think that's part of the draw to Haunted Fort and Fort Abraham Lincoln, is that, you know, people do talk about the fact that it's haunted. It goes on social media, and so when they do come out, they're standing in line and like, is this place really haunted? Is there actually ghosts out here? And we kind of, you know, we have to kind of say, well, some people do think so.
Yeah, you'll have to decide for yourself. And the thing is, you can convince yourself of just about anything, because even if there's nothing there, you can see or hear something, I would imagine. And a lot of people are doing that. Okay, it goes beyond the fort itself, because there are people, there are farmsteads and things like that in the area that have seen / heard some things.
Yeah, you know, so you know, in the 20s, 30s, 40s, even 60s and 70s, you know, we heard stories from homeowners in Mandan and farmsteads around the area that actually used some of the lumber from Fort Abraham Lincoln. Like you know, for example, the pieces of the Custer house were repurposed in homes in Mandan, and even some of those homeowners have told stories of, you know, paranormal mishaps and happenings in these homes that have, you know, taken some of this lumber and used it, and you know, those stories just kind of grow over time, and you hear, you know, so-and-so's grandmother talked about this happening in their house, and they had old wood from Fort Abraham Lincoln, and so it ties in that story, and it becomes more of a regional kind of depiction of hauntings.
Stop it, Matt. Okay, what do we got? We're gonna continue this and take it a step further next week.
Yeah, so next week, really gonna go into the modern era of hauntings. And so back in 2010 was a very significant paranormal investigation that was done. and it had a lot of good evidence. So I want to share some of that evidence next week of some of the hauntings and voices that they caught, and then really talk about what, with the technology we have today, what have we learned from that in terms of the hauntings at Fort Abraham Lincoln.
It's really interesting, whether you believe it or not. It's interesting even to discuss it a little bit.
Right, exactly.
Tell us where we can get a hold of, find out some information about what's going on between now and next weekend.
To get your fear on and your scare going, the Haunted Fort is open this weekend on Friday and Saturday, so come on out and check it out. Go to hauntedfort.com, get your tickets. Get your tickets early. We've been telling everyone because now it's the Halloween season. People are flocking out there. We had sold out weekends last weekend.
You said it was busy as can be last weekend.
It was, and weather's going to be nice this weekend, so get in there early, get your tickets, and come on out and have a great time.
Come on out and listen to the screaming.
That's right.
There you go. Thank you, man.